This is Martha Mwambua. She's 16 years old, and in less than a month, she's supposed to become the first human being on Mars.
And what do you think the reaction of America and Russia will be to Zambia's joining in the space race?
Or they'll be only surprised.
Off the ground, up more.
They will underestimate our resources plus the intelligence, but I'm sure we are catching them.
Yes.
October 24th, 1964. Northern Rhodesia has just broken free from British colonial rule. The new nation of Zambia is celebrating in the streets. Flags wave, people dance. A country is being born. But while Zambians celebrate their freedom, the world's attention is elsewhere. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in the ultimate competition, the space race. Each superpower is spending billions. Each is desperate to prove their system superior.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
NASA has rocket scientists, military pilots, and state-of-the-art facilities. The Soviets have the same. 7 miles outside Zambia's capital, in a secret farmhouse, a schoolteacher named Edward Makuka Nkoloso is training 12 teenagers to go to Mars. Not with NASA's rockets, not with billions of dollars, with teenagers, with an oil barrel, with rope swings, and with absolute conviction that even the smallest nation deserves to reach for the stars. In a few weeks, he'll announce to the world press that Zambia will beat America and Russia to Mars. The world will laugh, but maybe they're missing the point. To understand this story, you need to understand the man behind it. Edward Makuka Nkoloso was born in 1919 in northern Rhodesia, a British colony where Africans were second-class citizens in their own land. He received a missionary education, learned theology, Latin, French. He wanted to become a priest, but World War II changed everything. He was drafted into the Northern Rhodesian Regiment, rose to the rank of sergeant in the Signal Corps, and somewhere in a military laboratory, someone showed him a microscope. That moment changed him. Science, the hidden worlds, the possibilities. After the war, Nkoloso wanted to open his own school. The colonial administration said no. He opened it anyway. They shut it down and prosecuted him, so he joined the resistance. In 1956 and 1957, he was arrested, imprisoned. According to Nkoloso, he was tortured. When he was released, he didn't break. He became national steward of the United National Independence Party. He worked alongside Kenneth Kaunda, who would become Zambia's first president. He served as special representative at the African Liberation Center, supporting freedom fighters across the continent. This was not a foolish man. This was not a simple man. Friends and enemies agreed Edward Nkoloso was well educated, charismatic, and deeply intelligent. So what was he doing rolling teenagers down hills in oil barrels? In 1960, while still under colonial rule, Nkoloso founded the Zambia National Academy of Science, Space Research and Philosophy. The headquarters, an abandoned farmhouse 7 miles from the capital. The budget, essentially zero. The staff, Nkoloso himself. The recruits, 12 teenagers. Recruits would walk on their hands. According to Nkoloso, this was the only way people can walk on the moon. They'd swing on ropes tied to trees, higher and higher, until another trainee would cut the rope, sending them crashing to the ground. Zero gravity training, Nkoloso called it, and of course, there was the barrel. Roll a recruit down a rough hillside. When they hit a particularly big bump and went airborne, that's when Nkoloso would celebrate. Anti-gravity conditions. The rocket itself was a 10-foot aluminum and copper drum. Launch method. Initially, a catapult. To be clear, NASA had spent $25.4 billion on the Apollo program. They had Werner von Braun, the man who built Nazi Germany's V-2 rockets. They had computers, test pilots, and the full weight of American industrial might. Nkoloso had a catapult. But Nkoloso was deadly serious. On October 24, 1964, Zambian Independence Day, he wanted to launch his rocket. The organizers of the independence celebrations rejected the proposal. Undeterred, Nkoloso announced his plans to the international press.
We have been studying Mars through telescopes at our headquarters. We are now certain Mars is populated by primitive natives.
The planned mission to Mars would carry one specially trained space girl, 16-year-old Mata Mwambua, 2 cats, also specially trained, and 1 Christian missionary.
But I have warned the missionary, he must not force Christianity on the people of Mars if they do not want it.
The world press had a field day. Time magazine ran the story. News crews flew to Zambia. Everyone wanted to see the African space program. Most treated it as a joke, a circus. Look at these foolish Africans, they seem to say, playing at science with their tire swings and oil drums. But Nkoloso didn't flinch. He wrote to UNESCO requesting 7 million Zambian pounds. He reportedly asked private sources for $1.9 billion. The responses: polite rejections. Some offered well wishes and advice. As Nkoloso noted,
you can't fuel a rocket with well wishes and advice.
You can't fuel a rocket with well wishes. The Zambian government officially stated they never took the project seriously. They offered no support. And then the final blows. Nkoloso complained that his recruits were too busy making love instead of studying the moon. 2 of his best men went drinking one night and never returned. Another joined a traveling song and dance group. And Mata Mwambua, the girl in the barrel, the future first woman on Mars, got pregnant. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon. The flag he planted was America. The Zambian space program was over. So what was this? Really? Was Edward Nkoloso insane? Was he traumatized by torture until his mind broke? Was this just a sad delusion from a troubled man? Or was he playing a completely different game than everyone thought? Consider this. The world laughed at Zambia's space program. Every major newspaper, every TV station, every comedian made jokes, but here's what they didn't realize. For decades, Africans had been told they were inferior, primitive, incapable of science, technology, progress. Meanwhile, the civilized superpowers were spending billions trying to prove which of them was superior. The space race wasn't really about space, it was about dominance, about proving which system deserved to rule the world. And into this context, Nkoloso says, I've warned the missionary not to force Christianity on the Martians if they don't want it. Think about what he's doing there. He's mimicking exactly what colonial powers did to Africa, showing up uninvited to civilize the natives, but he's turning it into obvious absurdity. The training methods weren't just random. They were a perfect parody of the space race itself, dangerous, ridiculous exercises that put human lives at risk for national pride, and it worked. He got exactly what he wanted: global attention, the name Zambia, not Northern Rhodesia, on the world stage. A newly independent African nation, making the superpowers look at them. Here are the facts. Edward Nkoloso was a war veteran, a resistance fighter, a political organizer who helped achieve his nation's independence, a teacher who opened schools for Africans when it was illegal. He worked at the highest level of the independence movement. He supported freedom fighters across Africa. When he died in 1989, he was buried with presidential honors. This was not a madman. This was not a fool. Some historians believe the space program was a cover, that Nkoloso was training resistance fighters and using the eccentric scientist persona to explain why he had certain chemicals and materials. Others believe it was pure satire, a brilliant piece of performance art mocking colonialism and the space race. Or maybe he really was trying to give those 12 teenagers something bigger than themselves, to make them feel like they were part of something important. Because here's the thing about Mata Mwambwa in that barrel. She got backing every time. She and the others kept training, not because they were stupid, but because someone told them they could reach for the stars.